Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Friday, February 21st, 2025.
Ukraine's strategic mineral resources. Ukraine is working to secure ongoing military support from the United States by tapping into its rich mineral resources, particularly rare earth elements. This effort comes amid a fierce struggle for sovereignty against Russia, which began with a full-scale invasion on February 24, 2022. President Zelensky and his Chief of Staff, Yermak, are highlighting the potential of these untapped resources, including lithium and titanium. Currently, Ukraine's mineral sector contributes significantly to its economy, but much of its wealth remains inaccessible due to the conflict. The European Commission sees Ukraine as a key supplier of important materials, which could boost the European economy if Ukraine joins the European Union. U.S. President Trump is interested in negotiating a deal to ensure continued support for Ukraine, emphasizing the strategic importance of these resources in reducing reliance on foreign suppliers, especially China. As discussions unfold, the development of Ukraine's mineral wealth could reshape global relationships, impacting the dynamics between the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia.
IMF mission to discuss climate financing for Pakistan. An advisor to Pakistan's finance minister announced that an International Monetary Fund (IMF) mission will visit Islamabad from February 24th to 28th, 2025. They will discuss around $1 billion for climate projects to help Pakistan cope with the impacts of climate change. This funding is crucial after the devastating floods in 2022, which affected about 33 million people and caused over 1,700 deaths. The IMF established a climate support fund in 2022 to assist countries with long-term financial needs for climate initiatives. Pakistan formally requested this funding in October 2022, highlighting its urgent need for help. Kermskezad emphasized how vital this support is for the country's recovery efforts. As Pakistan strives for economic recovery, these discussions with the IMF are essential. The country ranks among the most vulnerable nations to climate change, according to a global index. The upcoming meetings will focus on effectively using the $1 billion to enhance climate resilience and transition to cleaner energy sources.
Urgent call for climate action in the Caribbean. Barbados Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley made an urgent call for climate action during a recent gathering of Caribbean leaders in Bridgetown. This important conference focused on critical issues like climate change and food security. Motley highlighted that the climate crisis poses serious threats not just to the Caribbean, but to the entire world. Grenadian Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell praised the teamwork among nations and international organizations in tackling these challenges. Carla Barnett, the conference's Secretary General, stressed the need for stronger cooperation to combat biodiversity loss and pollution. Key figures at the conference included UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who contributed to discussions on food security and resilience. The conference aimed to develop strategies to address the impacts of climate change, ensuring a sustainable future for the Caribbean. This gathering reflects a growing recognition of a need for immediate action to confront these global challenges.
Political turmoil in South Korea. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is facing serious legal troubles amid a growing political crisis. He appeared in court on February 20th, 2025, for a preliminary hearing over allegations that he tried to impose military control in December 2022. This controversial decision, aimed at protecting a liberal South Korea from North Korea's threats, ignited fierce protests nationwide. After declaring martial law, the National Assembly quickly voted to lift it within hours. Yoon was arrested on January 15, 2023, making history as the first sitting president in South Korea to face such legal action. He was charged with rebellion for allegedly attempting to dissolve the National Assembly and arrest political opponents. As the situation escalates, Yoon's defense minister, Kim Yong-hyun, and several military leaders have also been arrested. The National Assembly has initiated impeachment proceedings against Yoon, and if upheld by the Constitutional Court, elections must be held within 60 days. This ongoing crisis has left South Korea in a state of uncertainty, with Yoon's supporters continuing to protest against the legal actions taken against him.
Concerns over Afghan resettlement office closure. The Trump administration is considering shutting down the Afghan Resettlement Office, which plays a crucial role in relocating Afghans to the United States. This decision could affect over 250,000 Afghans and their families who are at risk from the Taliban due to their connections with the U.S. established after the chaotic withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan in August 2021. This office is part of the State Department's Office of the Coordinator for Afghan Relocation Efforts, known as CARE. The Enduring Welcome Program, which helps at-risk Afghans, is managed by CARE. Staff have been instructed to prepare for a potential shutdown by the end of March 2025. This looming closure raises serious concerns about the future safety of many Afghans who have relied on U.S. support. The situation highlights the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, where many live in fear under Taliban rule. The implications of this decision extend beyond individual lives, impacting U.S. foreign policy and relationships with allies. What will happen to those who depended on the support?
Federal Reserve officials address inflation concerns. Federal Reserve officials are sounding the alarm over rising inflation risks and the uncertain impacts of former President Donald Trump's trade and immigration policies. On February 20th, 2025, they suggested that cooling inflation in the U.S. might open the door for interest rate cuts. However, one official pointed out that current conditions indicate it's best to keep rates steady for now. Federal Reserve Governor Adriana Kugler stressed the importance of maintaining the federal funds rate, noting that inflation still has a long way to go before hitting the 2% target. Despite a strong labor market with an unemployment rate of 4%, inflation risks remain. Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic anticipates 2/4 percentage point rate cuts later this year, but acknowledges significant uncertainty ahead. Meanwhile, St. Louis Fed President Alberto Musalem warns that upcoming policy changes could keep inflation above the central bank's target. As businesses express both excitement and concern about new import taxes and regulations, the economic landscape continues to evolve.
PhonePe's exciting IPO plans. Walmart-backed PhonePe, a top fintech player in India, is excitedly preparing for its public listing on the Indian stock exchanges. Announced on February 20, 2025, this comes after a strong financial turnaround, with profits reaching nearly 2 billion Indian rupees, a significant recovery from over 7 billion in losses last year. Revenue jumped by 74%, exceeding 50 billion Indian rupees. Since its launch in 2016, PhonePe has become a household name, leveraging the unified payments interface for instant money transfers. With a market share of almost half and over 300 million transactions daily, it boasts more than 590 million registered users. Despite recent market fluctuations, PhonePe sees this as a prime opportunity for its IPO. The company moved its headquarters from Singapore to India to better align with the booming fintech landscape. With growing interest in digital payments, PhonePe's upcoming IPO is set to attract significant investor attention.
Elon Musk calls for Federal Reserve audit. Elon Musk recently made headlines at the Conservative Political Action Conference in National Harbor, Maryland, by calling for an audit of the Federal Reserve. He believes that increased transparency and accountability in the central banking system are crucial as the Fed's decisions significantly influence the economy. This statement comes as Donald Trump begins his second term, a time marked by impactful economic policies. Musk, known for his roles at Tesla and SpaceX, is a key voice in discussions about finance and technology. His push for an audit could spark greater public interest in how the Federal Reserve operates and may shape future economic policies. As debates about economic transparency continue, the connection between government actions and economic outcomes remains vital for citizens and policymakers.
G20 meeting in South Africa tackles global challenges. Foreign ministers from the Group of 20, or G20, gathered in Johannesburg, South Africa, on February 20, 2025, amid rising global tensions, particularly due to the war in Ukraine. This meeting brought together 19 countries and the European Union, accounting for a significant share of the world's economy and trade. President Cyril Ramaphosa opened the discussions, emphasizing the urgent need for cooperation and adherence to international law. The absence of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who criticized the meeting's focus on diversity and inclusion, underscored ongoing tensions in U.S. foreign policy. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov represented a nation facing widespread condemnation for its actions in Ukraine. As leaders sought diplomatic solutions to conflicts in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, the Sahel, and Gaza, the atmosphere buzzed with urgency. The outcomes of this meeting could shape future international relations and economic cooperation among the world's largest economies.
Israeli Prime Minister's response to hostage handover. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to take strong action against Hamas after the group handed over the remains of 4 Israeli hostages. This event, which occurred on February 20th, 2025, included the bodies of Kevair Bibas, an infant, and his 4-year-old brother Ariel, who were kidnapped during the attack on October 7th, 2023. That attack led to the abduction of about 250 people and around 1,200 deaths. The handover took place in a public area, witnessed by crowds of Palestinians, and drew criticism from United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk for violating international law. In Tel Aviv, people gathered at Hostages Square to mourn, with President Isaac Herzog expressing the nation's shared sorrow. Netanyahu stressed that this handover means Israel must stop future attacks. This handover was part of a ceasefire agreement reached in January 2025, involving mediators from the United States, Qatar, and Egypt. The ongoing conflict has resulted in significant casualties, with Palestinian health authorities reporting around 48,000 deaths in Gaza due to Israel's military response. The Bibas family has become a symbol of the tragedy in this conflict, highlighting the deep-rooted issues and humanitarian crisis in the region.
FTC investigates big tech practices. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, is investigating the content rules and user restrictions of major tech companies. Announced by Chairman Andrew Ferguson on February 20, 2025, this inquiry aims to find out if these practices amount to censorship and violate existing laws. The FTC is particularly worried about whether tech firms have deceived users or silenced conservative voices online. They're also looking into whether advertisers have withdrawn funding from platforms like X, owned by Elon Musk, due to concerns over content management. The FTC warns that unclear content rules could break laws against misleading business practices and may stem from unfair competition among tech giants. To gather community feedback, the FTC has opened a public comment period until May 21, 2025, inviting individuals to share their experiences. The outcome of this investigation could shake up how tech companies operate, affecting user experiences and the content we see. As public trust in these companies declines, scrutiny over their practices is increasing, potentially reshaping our online communication.
China's tech meeting with Xi Jinping. On February 21, 2025, a crucial meeting took place in Beijing, where President Xi Jinping met with key business leaders, including Ren Zhengfei, the founder of Huawei. They addressed China's growing concerns about relying on foreign technology, particularly in semiconductors and operating systems, especially with increasing U.S. sanctions. Ren shared his optimism, suggesting that fears about a lack of homegrown innovation are easing. Other notable attendees included Wang Chuanfu from BYD and Lei Jun from Xiaomi, who highlighted the remarkable progress in China's electric vehicle industry. This meeting reflects China's strategy to strengthen its tech sector and reduce dependence on imports, aiming for greater self-sufficiency. The implications of these discussions could reshape global supply chains and impact international trade, making it vital to understand these developments for the future of technology in China and beyond.
That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's headphone news. News summary brought to you by AI.